There is a kind of silence that goes deeper than quiet. Not the hush of a room when everyone leaves. Not the calm of a night when the world has fallen asleep, but a silence so wide. It holds no memory, no shape, no movement, no light. Are there, in that stillness, before time has learned to tick, before space has stretched its limbs, before stars have dared to shine dot, this is not nothing. This is the waiting, the great pause before everything begins. You are floating in a sea that has no waves, no edges, no sound. A dark so complete, it isn't frightening, just empty in a way that feels soft, like a held breath, like a wound. You don't fall. There is no up, no down. There is no gravity to pull you anywhere, no matter to cling to, no direction to face. And yet, somehow, you feel presence here, a weightless pressure of becoming. The universe is curled tight like a seed, its entire story still folded inward dot in this moment. If moment can even apply, there is no past, no future, no clock to turn, only the potential for motion, the shadow of unfolding possibility. You are part of it, not a visitor, not separate, but the same energy that will one day burn in stars, the same particles that will spiral into galaxies, the same quiet longing that will pull worlds into being. Your body, your thoughts, are echoes of this original stillness, and though nothing moves, a kind of pressure grows. Like the coiling of a spring, like a whisper building behind closed lips. There is no sound, but if there were, it might be the gentlest inhale the cosmos has ever taken, gathering breath before its first word. Physics hasn't begun. Laws are still sleeping, but the conditions are being shaped. Temperature, density, symmetry, all waiting to tip. The darkness isn't empty. It is full of restrained energy, locked tight in a single, unimaginably small point. Everything you will ever know, every tree, every song, every thought ever thought, exists inside this point, compressed beyond imagination, wrapped in silence. The stillness is not forever, but for now, it is complete. There is peace in this moment. There is nothing to disturb it. No atoms to collide, no stars to explode, no gravity to curve the silence into motion. You float here, held by nothing. And yet you are held. Your mind, unburdened by time, rests in the simplicity of this quiet. There is nowhere to go. There is nothing to miss. Only the soft waiting of a universe that is just about to begin. If you listen, not with ears, but with that inner sense of awareness, you may feel the hint of tension, as though the darkness itself is stretching, ready to tear open into brilliance. This is the canvas before the first brushstroke, the stage before the curtain rises, the dreamless pause before the first heartbeat dot, and then, just as softly as it began, something shifts. Not a sound, not a burst, but an unfolding, an opening. A whisper of space begins to expand. Time finds its footing, like a newborn, learning to stand. What was still begins to breathe. You feel it, not like motion, but like a quiet widening behind your ribs. The dark is still dark, but it is no longer perfectly still. The waiting is over. The unfolding has begun, and with that first shift, the seed of every galaxy stirs. You drift on the edge of the cosmos being born. The silence is breaking, but so gently you might mistake it for a sigh. Ahead of you, the first light is not yet light. The first matter is not yet matter, but the symmetry has broken. The story has begun. You are no longer in a place. You are inside a process, a quiet expansion that will one day become stars, nebulae, moons, oceans, dreams. But in this moment, just as things begin to move, there is still a kind of stillness, a soft echo of what once was, a quiet that carries you forward like a tide newly formed. And as the universe begins to drift outward, you follow, weightless, wondering. toward the first ripples that will grow into galaxies. The silence is fading, but the motion has only just begun. And now you move with it, toward the first shimmer, toward the birth of light. And still ahead, what causes this drift? What invisible force gently stretches space beneath your feet? That you'll discover. In the first breath of cosmic motion, you are floating in the dark, still wrapped in the stillness of before, but something shifts. Not a sound, not a flash, just a change, a loosening, a stretch, a breath that has been held for far too long and now begins to release. There is no explosion, no burst of noise, only expansion, silent and smooth, like silk unraveling across a vast floor. You feel it in your bones, though your body is not yet formed. You are made of what is expanding, your atoms still unborn, your future still folded in the heat of beginning. The universe opens like a bud in time-lapse, petals of space unfurling from a center that has no edge. There is no middle to move. Away from, only more space, appearing between every point. This is the first drift. From a point smaller than anything you can imagine, everything you will ever know begins to stretch. Not through space, but as space dot, you are not watching from a distance. You are inside it. Inside the growth, the motion, the deep unfolding. You are a ripple moving outward. Carried on the breath of the cosmos. The expansion is fast, faster than the speed of light itself, but it doesn't feel fast. It feels smooth, continuous, like floating downstream with no resistance, no beginning to the current. The motion is absolute, and you are part of it. There are no stars yet, no galaxies, no structures, only energy, thick, hot, unbroken. Dense plasma, where light cannot move freely. Photons bump into particles, scatter, pause. It is bright, but not in a way your eyes would understand. It is brightness without shape, without color, without direction. You drift through it, a part of the flow. There is no up, no down, no forward or back, just movement, the soft inflation of everything. Time has begun to tick, but it ticks slowly here, dragging itself into rhythm as temperature falls. With each passing moment, though the moments themselves are only beginning to make sense, the universe grows cooler, larger, smoother. You can almost hear it, a hum beneath silence, as space makes room for what it does not yet contain. This is not chaos. This is not disorder. This is expansion with intention. It follows rules, gentle rules etched into reality itself. Laws of physics, still molten and new, but already guiding the way. Every particle is moving outward, yet none feel the wind. There is no wind, no air, no friction, no resistance. The universe is not moving through anything. It is the anything. And still, you drift. You are not separate from this motion. You are the motion, your essence, the quarks and fields, and energy you will one day carry, is being pulled apart and spread wide, like notes in a song that hasn't been written yet. Galaxies do not exist, but their future positions are being mapped, drawn softly by variations in the smoothness, tiny ripples in the fabric of space, so small, so subtle, but enough to become everything. These early fluctuations, denser here, lighter there, will one day become structure. They are the whispers of gravity's plans, the places where matter will slow and gather. But for now, all is motion. All is outward. You stretch with it. The further things get, the faster they move away. This is not a trick of speed. It is the fabric itself, swelling beneath your presence. You are not racing through space. You are space, unfolding. It is strange to think. From this softness, this warmth, this shapeless sea, everything will come. The stars, the planets, the oceans and eyes, your breath, your thoughts, Your dreams dot all of it seated in this first expansion. And yet, nothing here is rushed. There is no urgency in the cosmos. It does not hurry, and it does not hesitate. It expands because that is what it does. You begin to feel the temperature drop. From a furnace too hot to imagine, the universe now cools with every breath of growth. Still blazing, still bright, but falling, slowly, toward form. This cooling will matter, because one day, light will move freely. One day, atoms will form. One day, stars will ignite, but not yet. For now, the first drift continues, the slow, patient swelling of a cosmos just beginning to become. You ride it like a wave that never crests, never crashes. Just flows, carrying the future inside it. The silence is still here, but now it has motion beneath it. Like wind beneath a leaf, like current beneath a boat. You drift farther, but there is no farther, only more. More space. More stillness. More distance growing between points. It is not emptiness. It is not loneliness. It is the making of room for galaxies, for stars, for you. You wonder, what holds this expansion in place? Why does it continue, quiet, ceaseless, balanced? And softly, as space continues to stretch beneath you, you begin to sense the quiet scaffolding beneath it all. The structure that does not shine, the threads that will hold galaxies together. That, too, is beginning now. Invisible, gentle, forming in silence, a lattice is growing in the darkness. A web where light will one day rest. And as you float forward, still expanding, you find yourself drifting toward it. You float through brightness, not the sharp gleam of a star, not the gentle shimmer of moonlight, but a full-body glow, a warmth without center or edge. There are no stars yet. No suns, no planets, no shadows. Only light and the fire that makes it. You are surrounded by a universe still newborn, its light thick, its energy dense. Here, the glow doesn't travel cleanly. It bumps, scatters, turns back on itself. Photons, tiny packets of light, are caught in a crowded dance with matter. They cannot move far before colliding, like voices in a noisy room, never quite reaching silence. This not shine the way you're used to. It fills the space like mist, soaked into every corner, so even the darkness glows. It is not gentle. It is not soft. This is a light made of heat, pure energy, vibrating and chaotic, pressing outward on everything. You drift through it slowly, not because you resist, but because motion means nothing here. Everything is so dense, so packed, that distance barely exists. Everywhere is the same dot. This is the era before clarity, a time when the universe is too hot to settle down. Atoms cannot form. Nuclei are constantly broken apart, pulled open by the sheer intensity of light. The glow is not an afterthought. It is the origin. Before anything takes shape, there is this radiance, the fire that fills the void, and you float in it, as if held inside the warm breath of creation. There's no up, no down, but there is motion. Not in direction, in temperature, in density, in time. Slowly, ever so slowly, the universe expands and cools. Every second brings a little more space, a little less pressure. And with that space, a soft easing. You do not feel the cooling on your skin. You have no skin. Not yet. But you sense it, like a long exhale after a fever. The light doesn't vanish. It spreads thinner, less tightly wound. Its energy softens. Somewhere inside this radiant soup, a process begins. Light and matter continue their dance, but with more room to move, more time between collisions. You're floating inside a memory, a glow that will echo across all of time. This early light, this fire without form, will one day become the oldest thing you can see. It will stretch with the universe, cool with it, fade into microwaves. Billions of years later, you will build machines to listen to it, and they will hear the whisper of this brightness. But for now, you are simply inside it. No machines, no stars, just glow. There is something deeply peaceful about it. Though it is wild, though it is loud in its own way, there is no conflict here. Everything belongs. Energy and matter, dancing, colliding, then parting again. You pass through places just slightly denser than others. Small ripples, imperfections. They look like nothing now, but they are the seeds of structure. The tiny wrinkles in the light that will one day become galaxies. You cannot see them yet, only feel them as soft shifts in pressure. They are faint, but they matter, because the universe, for all its heat and motion, is not perfectly smooth. And that makes all the difference. If everything were even, there would be no clumping, no gravity pulling matter into stars. But these faint, uneven patches, these subtle fingerprints, break the symmetry. And from them, everything will bloom. Still, that blooming is far away. Now, the light is still too thick, too tangled to allow clarity. You could not see a hand in front of your face, if you had a face. Everything is submerged in a glowing fog, but it will not last. Even this fire has a limit. As the universe cools, there comes a moment, gentle, inevitable, when the light will break free. It is called decoupling, a quiet parting. Photons, once trapped in a maze of matter, finally find open paths. They slip away and never stop. That moment is still far ahead. For now, the photons bounce and scatter. The universe is still opaque, still humming with heat, still glowing. You drift through the brightness, through the fire that will one day be remembered. And though it is too soon for form, you begin to sense the language of light. It speaks not with words, but with texture, with rhythm, with soft impressions etched into the radiance. You are learning to feel the cosmos, not as a shape, but as a pulse. The brightness is not blinding, it is enveloping. It wraps around you like a womb. It asks nothing of you but to be still, to listen, to drift. And as you drift, the glow slowly stretches, softens, becomes less fierce. One day, this same light will cool to just a few degrees above absolute zero. It will spread so thin that it can barely be seen, yet it will remain the background song of the universe. You are inside that song now in its earliest, brightest notes, a part of the fire that fills the void. And in that fire, you begin to sense what lies ahead, not in the heat, but in the spaces where it thins, places where the glow will fade, where gravity will begin its slow work. The light has shown the way, but it is the unseen that begins to take shape. And now, as the fire begins to cool, you drift toward those invisible threads gathering in the darkness beyond the glow. You drift in the cooling light, softened now, stretched wide with the breath of expansion. The fire no longer burns as fiercely. The brightness is fading into warmth, but it still glows, a memory of its own making. Around you, the universe is quieter, though it hums with hidden tension. The motion has slowed, but it has not stopped. Space continues to stretch beneath your presence, growing more spacious by the moment. And now, in this gentle hush, something subtle begins to stir. You don't see it with your eyes, not yet, but you sense it in the way the glow bends. Tiny imperfections, slight wrinkles in the otherwise smooth expanse. Not flaws, just differences. Minuscule changes. In density, barely there pockets of matter. A little more here, a little less there. These are the ripples the universe has carried from its birth. Soft fingerprints left by its earliest trembling. Like the faint crumples on a sheet just pulled from a bed, they do not flatten out. They remain, and they change everything. You float among them, weightless, calm, drawn ever so gently toward these ripples. Not by force, But by presence, in a perfectly smooth universe, nothing could gather. Everything would remain evenly spread, balanced beyond change. But these tiny differences, just a fraction more mass here, a fraction less there, break the symmetry, and so they begin to pull. Gravity listens closely to these imperfections. It hears their soft call and answers slowly, patiently. Matter starts to move, just a little, toward the denser spots. Not quickly, not loudly, but inevitably. You are witnessing the birth of structure, though it doesn't look like much. Not. Yet, there are no stars, no spirals or glowing disks. Only gas, only light, and these invisible wrinkles shaping their paths. But they are enough, because where there is a little more mass, gravity will pull more to it. And the more it gathers, the stronger it pulls. A feedback loop, soft and slow, that will, over billions of years, build everything you will one day see in the night sky. These are the seeds of galaxies. Tiny, delicate, unseen, but powerful. In their quiet influence, you float between them, feeling the invisible folds in space beneath your journey. The universe, though still mostly uniform, is learning to organize itself. Imagine sprinkling sugar onto a still pond and watching the faint ripples that follow. Now imagine the pond is space, and the sugar is matter, drawn gently toward the places where ripples once formed. You are part of this process, not separate from it. The atoms that will one day make your body are being tugged, subtly, slowly into the gravity of these tiny over-dashed densities. Nothing happens quickly here. Cosmic time unfolds like a feather drifting through air, patient, graceful, almost still. But change is coming. These ripples will grow into filaments, giant threads stretching across space, connecting galaxy to galaxy like pearls on invisible strings. You're floating through a blueprint, an unseen architecture of what's to come. It doesn't look like a structure yet, but its design is already set in motion. In every direction, matter flows toward the wrinkles. Gas pools quietly, clumping into halos that will one day host stars. Dark matter, silent and invisible, deepens. The pull. And though you cannot see it, you feel the pull of it too. The quiet gravity of becoming. The universe is still too hot for stars, too diffuse for clusters. But the scaffolding is rising. There's beauty in the slowness. No rush, too. Reach the end, no hurry to shine. Only the long patience of nature weaving galaxies from whispers. And through it all, you drift, watching, waiting. The background light continues to fade, slipping further into the cool. The fire dims, the glow thins, and the ripples grow more visible, not to your eyes, but to the unfolding laws that shape the cosmos. Everything begins somewhere. Galaxies begin here, in these quiet tremors. So do clusters and superclusters, and walls of matter as vast as thought itself. You may not see their final forms yet, but you sense the pull. The structure is forming, not in bricks or beams, but in the gentle movement of gas and gravity. Each ripple tells a story. Not in words, but in curves and flows, drawing matter together in ways that will never unwind. And still you float, suspended in the deep, watching these beginnings unfold. No stars, no light apart from the background warmth, no motion that can be measured in a single breath. But something is gathering. Something is beginning to tighten, coalesce, reach for form. And as the ripples deepen, as the matter continues to drift inward, you sense that something is about to shift. The fabric is pulling tighter, the scaffolding stronger. And soon, in the deepest wells, the first stars will dare to burn. You have drifted through the fire, floated in the glow too thick to see through, bathed in light so dense it pressed against itself, folding, scattering, bound to matter like mist in a storm. But now, at last, something changes. quietly, gently. The heat fades just enough. The particles slow just enough. And in that moment of cooling, something long held back begins to let go. The universe becomes transparent. You don't notice it all at once. No great flash. No fanfare. But like fog lifting from a morning field, the light begins to move freely. Photons, those messengers of energy, are no longer trapped in an endless maze. They travel now, uninterrupted, unscattered, across distances growing wider with every passing breath of space. This is a freedom billions of years in the making. Before now, the cosmos was a glowing wall, a haze that blurred all boundaries. Now it becomes open, clear, silent. You are inside this moment, this quiet release. As if the universe, having carried its fire long enough, finally exhales. And with that breath, light escapes. This light is ancient, and it never forgets. It carries the imprints of where it came from, small variations in warmth, in tone, in direction. Those variations, faint, delicate, are patterns written across the sky. They do not look like pictures. They are not stars or galaxies or shapes with edges. They are shifts in temperature, measured in millionths of a degree. But they are not random. They are the memory of the ripples. The same ripples you floated through in the chapter before. Those wrinkles in the infant universe, now painted in light. The patterns are everywhere. In every direction you look, the sky holds them. They stretch like a soft map across the dome of space, a code without language, a music without sound, and you are listening. This is called the cosmic microwave background. But for you, it's something deeper. Not just a name, not just a signal. It's a feeling, a texture woven into the light. It is the oldest light you will ever see. Not because it is from a distant object, but because it is the echo of the moment when light first began to travel. It is the edge of visibility, the farthest horizon your eyes or your instruments can ever reach. You do not see it with your eyes, not in color, not in brightness, but it surrounds you, always, like the hush that follows a deep breath, like the glow on closed eyelids. This light is not changing anymore. It is stretched, yes, pulled longer and cooler by the expansion of space, but its pattern is frozen in time. The picture it paints was drawn when the universe was just 380,000 years old, a mere heartbeat in cosmic time. And yet, it is still here, still glowing, still whispering its record of the beginning. What does it show? It shows that the universe was never truly smooth, that the ripples, the variations, the gentle imbalances were real, not imagined. They left their mark in the sky. Some spots are a little warmer, some a little cooler, each one a clue to where matter was just a little thicker, where gravity would have started to gather. These are the places galaxies will one day live. The patterns in the light are the footprints of their futures. It is astonishing that from such faint, random-looking noise, structure could arise. But that is the rhythm of the cosmos. It works not through perfection, but through variation. And so you float through this sky of memory, tracing the gentle bumps in its texture. Every ripple is like a handprint pressed into clay, long before. The clay hardened. The light is quiet now. It no longer pushes. It no longer traps. It simply moves, endlessly, unafraid of distance, unfazed by time, and you drift with it. Even your breath, if you had one, would feel longer here. Time stretches, just like space. Everything unfolds slowly, like the turning of pages in a story that was always meant to be read at dusk. And just beneath this story of light, gravity is still at work. It does not glow. It does not shimmer. But it listens to the map the light has left. It gathers matter into the denser places, pulls it from the emptier ones, quietly, faithfully dot the seeds of galaxies. Once only suggestions, now begin to grow. But the light, this first free light, still carries the original plan. Even billions of years later, astronomers will look up and see it. They will build machines that measure its slight temperature changes, its faint unevenness. And from those patterns, they will reconstruct the birth of structure. They will find the rhythm you now drift through. You are part of that rhythm, not an observer, but a note within it. There is something deeply calming in this stage of the cosmos. Everything has begun, but nothing has hurried. The light moves, but does not race. The patterns form, but do not push. And as you rest in this unfolding stillness, you begin to notice a new kind of order, not just the shapes in the light, but the invisible web beneath it. A scaffold forming under the skin of space. A structure made not of stars, but of unseen matter. Matter that does not shine, but shapes everything it touches. You sense it. The quiet framework beneath the glow. The lattice forming in the shadows, pulling galaxies into place long before the stars arrive. The light has revealed the pattern. Now, the invisible begins to weave its threads. You float now in a quieter universe. The first light is past you, set free, carried across space like whispers on an endless wind. Behind it, the glow softens, and in the hush it leaves, you begin to feel the shape beneath the silence. There is no sound, but the fabric of space carries a quiet tension, as though stretched gently in all directions. It is not flat, not smooth. There are patterns here, but they do not shine. They are not written in light. They are carved in gravity. You are drifting through something you cannot see, but you can sense it. A lattice of motion, a network of invisible roads, filaments, strands. Threads made not of string, but of matter drawn together by the gentlest of forces, gravity working in silence over time. These threads stretch across the cosmos, vast and dark, binding the universe like a spider's web, delicate but unbreakable. Each one is composed of countless particles, drawn into line by the unevenness left behind by the early universe. The same tiny ripples you floated through before, now grown, now connected. You are not moving randomly. You are following the threadwork. Everywhere you drift, the pull is there, not strong, but sure. A nudge inward, a quiet direction. There is comfort in it. The sense of being guided, not by intention, but by structure itself. The universe does not give orders, but it offers paths. This is the cosmic web, a vast skeleton of matter and motion, spanning billions of light years. It does not emit light, but it defines where light will one day live. You float alongside a filament, through a corridor where particles gather like mist in a valley. Dark matter, unseen but powerful, forms the backbone. Ordinary matter, the kind that will make stars, the kind that will make you, follows, drawn in by the quiet force. The threads do not glow, but they cradle galaxies like beads on a necklace. Where two threads cross, matter pools. The pull deepens, and galaxies begin to form. Not yet, but soon. For now, the universe is still mostly darkness. But it is no longer empty. It has pattern. It has rhythm. It has a hidden geometry. Imagine dew clinging to strands of a spider's web in the gray of dawn, invisible until the light catches it just right. The cosmic web is like that, a structure revealed not by itself, but by what gathers along it. And what gathers is everything. You drift near a junction, where filaments intersect like rivers merging. There, the gravity is stronger, the matter denser. One day, this will be a cluster, a congregation of galaxies, each swirling with its own stars, each glowing softly in the dark. But now, it is only gas, cooling, collapsing, waiting. The universe builds slowly. It does not rush. Gravity does not hurry. It works patiently, turning ripples into rivers, and rivers into worlds. The filaments stretch farther than you can imagine. They are not lines on a page. They are three-dimensional rivers flowing through an ocean of time. And you are carried by them. Wherever you look, space is organized by these unseen lines. Even now, in the present day, galaxies trace them, cluster along them, move through them. The cosmic web is not something long gone. It is still here, still holding the universe in its gentle grip. If you could step back, far, far back, you would see it. A grand lace-like pattern woven from gravity and motion. Filaments, nodes, voids. Tension and rest. Presence and absence. Between. The threads lie vast empty spaces, cosmic voids where almost nothing lives. You drift through one briefly, and it feels like deep water, wide and silent. There is peace in the emptiness, but you feel the difference. The absence of pull. The lightness of silence. And then you find the thread again, and the pull returns. A familiar gravity, soft as breath. The matter within these threads begins to compress. Not suddenly, slowly, inevitably. Pressure builds. Temperature rises. Motion quickens. The filaments become places of activity, preparing for something new. Are near one now, and you can feel the heat inside it rising. Like embers stirred by wind. The first stars are near. They will not appear all at once. They will not arrive with trumpets or flames. They will flicker into being one by one, tiny, lights kindled in the dark. But their birth begins here, in the quiet gravity of the threads. Every star will have a place in this web. Every galaxy will be shaped by it. Even now, your own home, the galaxy you will one day orbit, is forming somewhere within this vast map. You do not need to find it. It is not time. For now. You are simply a witness to the weaving of a universe. There is wonder in this pattern, this unseen architecture. It reminds you that even in silence, even in darkness, structure forms, that the invisible can guide the visible. That what doesn't shine can still shape everything that does. And now, just ahead of you, the first light of stars begins to glow. Softly, gently, as if testing the sky. You are drifting in a quiet universe, but the silence is not empty. It has depth, like the pause between heartbeats or the hush before a seed begins to sprout. This silence hums with gravity. It is not a force that roars. It does not crackle or flare. It pulls, gently, constantly, without rest. Not by pushing, but by drawing things inward, as if whispering, "Come closer." You cannot see gravity. You cannot touch it, but you feel it everywhere, in the way matter gathers, in the way time bends around mass, in the way you float, not freely, but with direction. It has no sound, but it sings. Not in notes, but in motion. Everything that forms in this cosmos, the filaments, the clusters, the galaxies, listens to gravity's low voice. It is the sculptor of structure, the silent architect. The reason the stars will have places to burn, and the planets places to turn. You hover near a forming galaxy, though it does not yet glow. It is still only gas, still only dark matter cradling ordinary matter, still only a swirl of future shapes. But already, gravity is at work. It gathers the scattered. It slows the runaway. It begins to spin the formless cloud into something that will hold itself together. You feel the draw. Not like falling, not like flight, but something in between. A gentle nudge, a tilt of space, as if the universe is leaning, ever so slightly toward itself. This is the way gravity moves. Not quickly, not loudly, but completely. It bends space around mass, curves time around motion. What you once thought of as straight lines now turns softly inward, guided by unseen hands. Even light, swift and weightless, follows the curves gravity lays down. You float, watching this invisible work unfold. A galaxy is beginning to form. Slowly, softly. Gas cools in the center of a dark halo, falling inward, compressing under gravity's silent guidance. It's not a collapse. It's a gathering. The beginnings of a spiral are born here, not through instruction, but through balance. Gravity pulls in, motion spins out, and between them, a delicate dance begins. Stars will be born from this swirling gas. But before they shine, gravity must make the room. It holds everything in place, not with force, but with patience. You move deeper into the forming galaxy. You see clouds of hydrogen folding inward, compressed by weight, lifted by spin. It's quiet, but it's not still. Even here, in the silence, you can feel the weight of motion. Gravity works slowly. It takes its time, but it never lets go. It is the memory of mass, the pull that remains when everything else fades, and it shapes more than galaxies. It shapes time itself. Where mass gathers, time slows. It lingers, as if the clock must pause to hold the weight of what's there. You are near a forming core, dense and waiting. Soon, the first stars will ignite. But already gravity is binding them, not yet as light, but as possibility. You realize this pull, this hum, this silence, it holds the entire story together. Without gravity, there would be no coalescence. No galaxies, no suns, no planets, no you. It is the quiet framework that allows the universe to take shape, and though it does not shine, it tells light where to go. You feel the scale of it now, how it stretches from the smallest dust to the largest cluster, how it links stars into galaxies, galaxies into clusters, clusters into the web of all things. And you are part of this weaving, not separate, not outside. Your atoms were drawn by this same pull, held in the cradle's gravity carved from chaos. It's not a force to fear. It's a presence to trust. A rhythm that keeps things close, orbits in place, seas on shores, moons in dance. Even now, as the first stars prepare to flicker, gravity holds their stage. You watch as the central gas begins to tighten. Pressure builds. The silence deepens. Something waits just beneath the surface, not yet burning, but close. Gravity has done its work. It has drawn enough matter into one place. It has created the conditions. And soon, that silence will break. Not with sound, not with noise, but with light. The first star will awaken. And in its glow, gravity's quiet voice will finally be seen. You are drifting again, but not in emptiness. Not truly. The space around you seems quiet, a soft ocean of darkness. No stars. Light your path here, no glowing dust or shining clusters, yet something surrounds you. You feel it, like the hush beneath a breath, like the unseen current that carries leaves across a still lake. This is dark matter. You cannot touch it. You cannot see it. No telescope can catch its glint. No eye will ever follow its arc. But it is here, shaping everything you pass through. It is the silent partner of the universe. It does not shine. It does not burn. It does not collide or resist. And yet, it holds galaxies in its arms. You float through it now, through a halo that surrounds a newborn galaxy. This invisible cloud, spreading wider than the stars it cradles, is what makes the galaxy possible. Without it, the stars would spin outward like sparks, flung free by their own momentum. But instead, they stay. They circle. They whirl together, bound by a gravity that light cannot trace. This is the dance of dark matter. You drift along its edge, feeling its presence not in pressure or heat, but in shape, the way it bends space. Gently, guiding the stars like dancers led by unseen hands. Inside each galaxy, you notice the swirl, stars turning with speed that defies visible mass. If only the visible were present, their orbits would break apart. But they don't, because something else is holding them in. This soft gravity of the unseen. The galaxy is wrapped in a cloak of dark matter, and you are gliding through its folds. It is not made of atoms like you, not of protons or electrons, not of dust or gas or flame. Its substance is still unknown, and yet its effects are written in every motion you observe. Dark matter does not speak in color or heat. It speaks in curves, in arcs, in the way galaxies stay whole. Imagine wind shaping sand dunes. You do not see the wind, but you see what it makes. Dark matter is that wind, formless, but formative. You drift through its current, not pulled hard, but guided by its gentleness. There is structure here, threads and halos, clusters and bridges, just as real as anything made of light. You think of the web you've seen before, those filaments stretching across the cosmos. They, too, are made mostly of this hidden matter. The ordinary, the visible stars, the bright gas, the glowing arcs of galaxies make up only a small part of what exists. Most of the universe is dark. Not dark in color, but dark in knowing. And, still, it dances in this moment. You understand how little light explains. The visible is only the outline. The real shape lies deeper, beneath the glow, beneath what shines. You pass through a region where dark matter gathers thickly. It does not clump like gas. It does not cool. But it can still gather, driven by gravity's call. These dense regions are anchors. Galaxies are drawn to them, not because they know, but because they feel the weight of the invisible. You're floating in one now, a dark halo surrounding what will become a galaxy cluster. The stars are not here yet. The gas is still cooling. But the skeleton has formed. You are inside the scaffolding of the future. From this invisible structure, all luminous things will be hung. Stars like lanterns, planets like beads, light like paint on a hidden canvas. You reach out with your mind, not to see, but to sense. To feel the curves, the hollows, the silent strength of what holds everything together. Dark matter doesn't resist your passage. It doesn't press back. It is patient, enduring, spread wide, but purposeful. And through it, motion becomes meaning. The way galaxies spin, the way clusters merge, the way cosmic webs stretch and flow, all are guided by this unseen mass. You are not alone in this knowing. In a distant future, humans will chart the sky and find that the stars don't behave as expected. They will notice galaxies spinning too fast at their edges. They will map the bending of light as it curves around emptiness that should not bend. And from these clues, they will infer the presence of what you now drift through. Dark matter, mysterious, necessary, quiet. It doesn't ask to be known, but it leaves fingerprints everywhere. As you float in its presence, you begin to see the beauty of its silence. It does not shine for attention. It does not erupt or decay. It simply shapes, gathers, holds. Even your body, long from now, will be bound to the forms it made. The galaxy that birthed your sun, the stars you will one day name, all of them follow the choreography dark matter first set in motion. This is not emptiness. It is the hidden half of the whole. And just ahead, where gravity deepens and halos thicken, you sense something new preparing to rise. Not silent, not hidden, but bright. The first true stars are ready to open their light. You drift now through a gentle turning, not of single stars, but of entire gatherings. Clusters of light suspended in the quiet, each one beginning to take form. This is the age of galaxies. Before this, the universe was scattered, gas adrift, gravity whispering, threads pulling gently through the dark. But now, the stars are ready, and they do not arrive alone. You float past one, a cloud first, then a spin, then a shape. Like ink slowly curling in water, the galaxy finds its rhythm. Gas spirals inward, Stars ignite and arrange themselves, and gravity pulls it all into a dance that never ends. This spiral, wide and delicate, is a newborn galaxy. Not yet grand, not yet stable, but already full of promise. It glows with the light of thousands of stars, and you can feel it spin, as if time itself has begun to rotate. You drift above it. It turns like a pinwheel in slow motion. The center glows brightest, a soft core of heat and mass, the gathering. Place in what came before. Arms reach outward, sweeping like waves of stardust, curved by motion, thick with light. You move closer. The stars within the arms are not uniform. Some are young, hot and blue, burning quickly and brightly. Others are old, cool, amber, quiet in their long twilight. Gas clouds drift between them, ready to birth new stars, waiting in silence. Until gravity calls again, you begin to see how a galaxy becomes a home, not a single object, but a system, a floating city of fire and time. Every light you pass is a sun, and around many of them, planets may begin to form, small disks of dust turning into stone, into metal, into spheres. But that story is not yet told. For now, it is the galaxy's time. And not just one, you move away and see others. Distant. Dimmer, but forming all around you. Some are spirals like the one you just left. Others are rounder, smoother, less defined, like clouds frozen in place. Some are irregular, torn and lopsided, buffeted by nearby gravity. Galaxies do not form in isolation. They gather in clusters, groups bound together by dark matter and distance. You hover at the edge of such a group, a gentle swell of hundreds, maybe thousands of galaxies, moving around a shared center of gravity. From far enough away, they look like glowing grains suspended in deep blue-black velvet. Each one spins at its own pace. Each one flickers with its own stars. And yet, they belong together, tugged by invisible threads, nudged gently by each other's presence. You pass near a pair of spirals, too close now. They lean toward one another, their outer arms already touching. The stars will not collide, but their paths will twist. Their forms will bend, and over time, they will merge. Galaxies grow by gathering. They grow by encountering others. Their paths become shared dot, and in that merging, new stars are born. Bursts of light from chaos. It is strange. You think how still this all feels, and yet how much is always changing. Every galaxy is a memory. In motion, a long history of gas and gravity, forming and reforming over billions of years. You drift onward through a patch of deeper dark. Here, galaxies are fewer, the space between them wider. But even this emptiness is framed by the pull of their collective weight. One day, your own home will be in a galaxy like these, a small system on the edge of a spiral, circling quietly through the dark. But for now, you are a witness to the shape of starlight, to the gathering of the great cities of the sky. You let yourself fall slowly through one more spiral, its arms stretched and flowing, its stars soft and bright. You feel its gravity, steady but calm. You hear its silence, not empty, but full of meaning. And as you drift toward its glowing center, a quiet question rises in you, not about the stars, but about what waits in the heart of every galaxy, dark and unseen. You float now in the BS, wide dark, where galaxies drift like distant lanterns. From far away, they seem motionless, suspended in stillness, held by some quiet spell. But wait, let time stretch, let your view widen, and the stillness melts into motion. The sky is not frozen. It breathes. Galaxies do not sit in place. They move, they roam, they sway in the slow currents of space. Each one is a traveler in the great cosmic sea, gliding not across the sky, but through it. You are drifting alongside one now, a spiral of soft light, calm on the surface, but in truth, always in motion. Inside, stars orbit the center, pulled by gravity's invisible hand. They loop and spiral, never landing, never stopping. They move in cycles lasting hundreds of millions of years, quiet revolutions of fire. But it isn't only what's within. The whole galaxy itself, this floating city of stars, is also on a journey. It moves through space, carried along by the same expansion that has stretched the universe since the first quiet drift. You remember the early swell, the first expansion, when space itself began to widen. That stretching never stopped. It's still unfolding now, slowly increasing the space between galaxies. Like dots on an inflating balloon, galaxies aren't racing outward through space. Space is expanding between them. It's a gentle motion, but relentless. A rhythm so slow you might mistake it for stillness. But with enough time, even light feels the stretch. You drift farther, watching more galaxies slide across the cosmic web. Some are alone, floating quietly in emptier regions. Others are in groups, pulled toward one another by shared gravity. In those gatherings, motion is more than drift. It's dance. Galaxies orbit one another, slowly spiraling inward until they touch. You pass near two in the middle of such a meeting. Their arms reach out, streams of stars stretching and pulling, bridging the gap. This is not collision as you know it. Stars don't crash into stars. They are too far apart. But their paths are rewritten, their shapes reshaped. The galaxies distort. They stretch and twist, gravitational tides reshuffling their stars like wind through loose petals. Sometimes they pass through each other, only to return again, a slow waltz of gravity and memory. Other times they merge, their centers meeting, their stars mixing, forming one larger galaxy from two. You watch the glow swell. The spiral arms blur, becoming more like a cloud, a luminous ellipse of starlight and dust. From the meeting of galaxies, new stars are born. Gas is squeezed. Regions collapse. Light flares into being. Creation from collision. Order from encounter. You drift into the aftermath. A larger, slower-turning galaxy. Heavier now. Its heart older. The shape is smoother, less wild, less defined. Elliptical. Like a memory made solid. This galaxy is still moving, still pulled by the shared gravity of its cluster. In space, there are no fixed places, only paths, only motion. Even the clusters move, whole communities of galaxies orbiting common centers of mass, threading through the web of dark matter, collapsing into larger structures over time. You realize something gently startling. Motion never ends. There's no point where things come to rest, no cosmic stop. Only slowing, only stretching, only reshaping. Even galaxies that seem still are full of tides and tugs. You float in this motion, and you feel yourself a part of it. Not separate from the drift, but included in it. Your body, one day made of star stuff, will inherit this movement. The atoms that become you will spin through the arms of a galaxy, ride its long migration through space, feel the pull of other lights. You look back toward your own galaxy's future. It too will move. And in several billion years, it will meet another, Andromeda. The two spirals will spiral toward each other, drawn by gravity's gentle insistence. They will merge, not in destruction, but in blending. And from that blending, a new form will emerge. Different, larger, more quiet. It's a slow story, but not a still one. You think of the night sky, how it looks from the earth. You'll one day know. A scattering of lights, seemingly frozen. But now you understand, that sky is not a painting. It's a living film, paused only because you are small, and time moves faster than your eye can see. Galaxies spin, travel, collide, and change shape. The sky moves, but it moves like wind over a field, too slow to see, too constant to stop. So you float, not above this movement, but inside it. You drift on the great currents of space, across distances so vast they become a kind of silence. You feel the softness of motion, not as speed, but as becoming. A long unfolding, like petals from a bud, like ripples on a pond that has no edge. And as you follow the paths of these moving galaxies, you sense another force growing stronger. Not the pull that brings things together, but the stretch that draws them apart. You lie still now, suspended in the dark, your body cradled by the deep fabric of space. There is no ground beneath you, no floor to press against, and yet you can feel something shifting, a subtle movement beneath your resting form. It is not you who is moving. It is space itself, not a wind, not a wave, but a steady, silent swelling, a quiet unfolding that has never stopped. You breathe in, and with that breath, you feel a long rhythm of expansion. Galaxies are not sailing like boats across a sea. They are more like islands anchored in an ocean that stretches around them, growing wider with each moment. You imagine a balloon, its surface painted with tiny dots. As the balloon inflates, the dots move apart, not because they're running, but because the space between them is expanding. This is the motion beneath your feet. This is the gentle push that carries galaxies away from each other. Not through motion, but through making more room. You drift, and you begin to sense it, the invisible geometry of the universe changing. Shape, distances widen, not because things are fleeing, but because the ruler used to measure them is stretching. Even light, traveling across the cosmos, feels this slow pull. Its waves are lengthened, its colors redden. A long exhale, etched into the journey of every photon. This stretching of light is called redshift. Not a pushing, but a drawing, like pulling taffy until its color fades. You float in silence and see the marks of this truth. Far galaxies glow fainter. Their light stretched so wide it arrives at you like a whisper through a long tunnel. And the farther away they are, the faster they seem to recede. Not because they're rushing off, but because the space between has had more time to grow. You feel the quiet enormity of this expansion. It happens everywhere, not just between galaxies, but in the very structure of the cosmos. The fabric of space is like a living cloth, expanding evenly, gently, without preference. And this isn't something that waits for permission. It doesn't stop to check. Even as you lie still, even now, it continues, beneath you, around you, within every stretch of emptiness. You wonder why. What causes this growth? And that's where mystery enters, soft and inviting. We give it a name. Dark energy. But the name is only a placeholder for what we do not yet understand. Dark energy is not a wind, not a pressure. It is a property of space itself, an urge to expand built into the emptiness. As if space is not content to stay still, as if the void itself prefers to widen. And the more space there is, the more expansion it invites, like a rhythm that accelerates. As it continues, this wasn't always so. In the earliest days, gravity slowed the expansion. The pull of matter tugged gently inward, trying to hold the cosmos in check. But now, dark energy has taken the lead. The universe isn't just expanding, it's accelerating. You lie back again, and you feel it more deeply. A quiet lifting beneath you, a sense that everything is drifting just a little faster than before. Galaxies are becoming islands with oceans growing between them, so vast that one day, the light from other shores may no longer reach us. But that is far ahead. For now, you are here, in this moment, resting on the breathing skin of space. And you wonder, what happens to the stars as the universe expands? What happens to time when space stretches faster than light can keep up? You close your eyes and listen to the silence between galaxies. It isn't empty. It hums with motion. And from that motion, a new question rises. Not about space, but about time. You lie beneath the stars. Not on a bed, not on a planet, but on the open sea of space, where silence is deep and time flows like light. There, you begin to notice something subtle. The glow from distant galaxies is not quite what it should be. Their light feels tired, softened, gently pulled out of shape. This is not a flaw in the light. It is a story, a whisper, carried across the expanding canvas of the universe. This whisper is redshift. You float quietly, listening. Imagine a siren moving away. Its sound stretched, lowered, faded with distance. Now replace the sound with light, and you begin to feel redshift. It is not just motion. It is distance made visible. It is time, translated into color. When a galaxy moves away from you, its light must travel farther, across space that is stretching as it goes. Each wave of light is pulled, like threads unraveling from a spool. The longer the journey, the longer the wave. And light waves, like sound, carry meaning in their shape. Shorter waves, the blues, the violets, mean higher energy. Closer things, sharper origins. Longer waves, the reds, the infrareds, mean distance, cooler glow, and the passage of great time. So when you see redshift, you are not just seeing color. You are seeing time itself stretched into a visible spectrum. You turn your gaze toward a distant galaxy, so far away that its light began traveling billions of years ago. And by the time it arrives at your eyes, it has changed, shifted, softened, not because it has grown dim, but because space has grown wide. And the light has had to stretch to cross the ever-expanding gulf. You are watching not what that galaxy is, but what it was. Redshift is the memory of motion. It tells you how fast something is receding, and how far it may be. You look deeper, and you notice something gentle but surprising. The farther away a galaxy is, the more redshifted its light becomes. This isn't a coincidence. It's the expansion of space written in color. It's as if every distant light carries a signature, a silent note that says, I am far. I am moving away. I have traveled long to reach you. Some galaxies are only slightly shifted, their light just beginning to lean toward red. They are near, cosmically speaking, their light fresh and close to its source. But others, older, farther, ancient, are soaked in redshift. Their glow has been drawn thin by the stretch of billions of years. And still, you can hear them, like voices from long ago, singing in tones deeper than your ears can hear. Redshift is a cosmic lullaby, carried across time. Astronomers listen closely. They map redshift the way cartographers once mapped oceans. By tracing the light, they trace the shape of the cosmos itself. Through redshift, they saw that all distant galaxies are moving away. And not just moving, accelerating. The farther they are, the faster they seem to flee. This discovery was not loud. It was quiet. A change in wavelength, a deepening in color. But it spoke of something vast. The universe is not just expanding. It is expanding faster and faster. And redshift is how we know. You float in stillness, but the light around you tells a different story. It speaks of motion and memory, of distance and age. It's strange to think that light can stretch, that something so fast, so fundamental, can be reshaped by the journey it takes. But that's the beauty of redshift. It reminds you that even the fastest thing in the universe can be softened by space, by time. Even light must yield to the quiet breath of the cosmos. You drift now through a sea of ancient light. The most redshifted glow of all comes from the edge of everything. The cosmic microwave background. It too began as something hotter, brighter, bluer. But over 13 billion years, it has cooled. Its waves have lengthened. It has become the softest light imaginable, a whisper from the beginning. This background hum isn't just red-shifted light. It is red-shifted time, A map not just of distance, but of origin, dot, and so you float in it, held in the soft echo of all that ever burned. Redshift is the quiet memory of how far light has come to find you. And as you drift deeper into the night, you wonder, if light stretches through time, can time itself stretch? Can it slow? Can it bend? Can it move differently near different things? You close your eyes and feel time's flow not as a line, but as a river. And somewhere ahead, you sense gravity waiting to show you how time moves when it curves. You are drifting again, not by will, not by choice, but by something deeper, older, quieter. A motion so gentle you can't feel it on your skin, and yet so vast. It shapes the entire sky. You are floating on a current called the Hubble flow. Dot. Imagine this. You place tiny paper boats across a still pond. Then, slowly, you stretch the pond itself, not pushing the boats, but gently pulling the water beneath them. They drift apart, not because they're moving on their own, but because the space between them grows. This is what happens in your universe. Every galaxy is one of those boats. Every point in space feels the same stretch. No edge, no center, just motion emerging from within. You look out across the darkness, past the nearby galaxies, toward the faint, faraway ones. And the farther you look, the faster they appear. To recede. Dot. It isn't panic. It isn't flight. It's a quiet law, simple, vast, and true. Hubble's law, a rhythm born from observation, not theory. Discovered not by force, but by listening. You picture Edwin Hubble, standing beneath a different sky, not floating but grounded, looking through a telescope with quiet persistence. He noticed that the galaxies weren't standing still. There, light, when studied carefully, was redshifted, and not just by a little. The more distant a galaxy was, the more its light was stretched. Dot. From this pattern, he drew a beautiful conclusion. The universe is expanding, and galaxies are drifting apart at speeds proportional to their distance. This is the Hubble flow, not a river with banks, but a cosmic widening. The farther the shore, the swifter its drift. And you are not outside it. You are inside, part of the flow, riding it always. Even your own galaxy, even the atoms that make you, are caught in this subtle stretch. You don't feel it because gravity keeps you close, bound to Earth, to stars, to the fabric of your little neighborhood. Dot. But on the largest scales, where gravity no longer holds sway, the Hubble flow takes over. It stretches the space between galaxies, between clusters, between the lights that used to burn closer together. Dot. You begin to feel time differently here, not as a ticking clock, but as a widening, a breath drawn slowly outward, a tide that never returns. And this motion, this law, offers more than movement. It gives you a way to measure the age of all things. The Hubble constant, the rate of this cosmic drift, is like the heartbeat of the universe. By knowing how fast space is expanding, you can look backward to a time when galaxies were closer together, a time when the universe was smaller, hotter, brighter. Dot. By tracing the Hubble flow in reverse, you drift toward the beginning, toward the first breath, toward the moment when space first began to stretch. Dot. It is a strange thing to use the outward motion to look inward, to use the present drift to find the past's stillness. You float now through the quiet middle of it. All, not the beginning, not the end. Just a moment in the long inhale, and you realize something gentle but immense. The Hubble flow is not wind. It is not something you can feel on your face. It is not noise, not rush, not wave. Dot. It is background. It is the bass note of the cosmic song. It is the silent rising of everything. Dot. And though it may feel distant, removed, abstract, it is the reason the night sky is the way it is. It is why galaxies look farther than they once were, why the past glows dimly from all directions, Why? Light itself arrives stretched and softened. You look toward the future now, and you wonder, will the flow continue forever? Will galaxies grow so far apart that their light can no longer reach us? Will the sky, so full tonight, grow empty with time? These are questions left open, not to be answered now, but to be held like soft stones in the palm of your thought. For now, you rest in the middle of motion. You breathe in and the universe breathes out. You are part of this, not above it, not beside it. You belong to this rhythm. You drift, not through the wind, but through the quiet widening of space itself. And as you listen to the hush of the Hubble flow, you feel it give way to a deeper silence still. A question not of movement, but of something stranger. What is the space that keeps stretching? And what is hidden in its emptiness? You drift now in the vast in-between. No stars nearby, no glowing arms of spiral galaxies reaching for you. Just silence, pure, deep, and still. This is the space between galaxies. And it is not empty, but it is quiet in a way that feels infinite. You are suspended in a darkness so smooth, it feels like velvet pressed against your thoughts. There is no wind, no edge, no ceiling to this silence, but there is beauty here, and a kind of comfort that only such distance can offer. You begin to understand how far things truly are. A single galaxy, a swirl of hundreds of billions of stars, is already vast beyond measure, but the space between them, it is greater still. Light, the fastest thing you know, takes millions of years to cross this emptiness. You could wait 10 human lifetimes, 1,000 generations, and still the starlight would be mid-journey. The distances here are too big to count. You must feel them instead. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, watching another cliff rise in the distance. But instead of rock, the ground beneath your feet is made of space itself. And it's growing, slowly stretching out like a breath that never ends. This is what fills the gap between galaxies. Not darkness, but expanding space. Not silence, but a soft unfolding. And in this unfolding, you are small. Not in a lonely way, but in a humbling way. Like a leaf adrift on a wide ocean, not lost, just floating in something greater. You think of gravity, its quiet pull. Here, between galaxies, its grip loosens. You are no longer tethered, no longer drawn in. And yet, you're not truly alone. Particles drift in these spaces. Ghosts of atoms, soft whispers of radiation left over from the universe's birth. They are sparse, thin as breath. But they are there, a reminder that even the emptiest places still carry a trace of creation. Cosmic rays flicker past you, tiny travelers from exploding stars, crossing the vastness with no destination. And all around you is the cosmic microwave. Background, the dim afterglow of the Big Bang, still humming softly through this void. Even the silence carries memory. You close your eyes and feel it. The stillness between galaxies isn't a place of absence. It's a resting point, a pause in the great rhythm, a space where you can hear your own thoughts echo before they vanish into the wide, unfolding dark. This is where time feels slow, where motion is subtle, where nothing happens quickly, and so everything feels eternal. And you wonder, will galaxies ever come together again? Will this distance shrink or only grow? Current whispers of the cosmos say, it will grow. Galaxies not bound by gravity will drift farther and farther apart. One day, they may vanish from each other's view entirely, too distant, too redshifted. Their light too faint to reach across the swelling dark. It might sound like sadness. But here in this moment, floating quietly between stars, you feel no sorrow. You feel awe, because this space, this vastness, is also what makes the stars so precious. Without this distance, there would be no perspective, no contrast, no frame to place the light against. The silence makes the music of galaxies more beautiful. You think of the night sky, how the stars seem scattered so randomly. But now you know they are not close. They are distant fires burning alone, each with its own story, its own family of planets, its own history of collisions and creation. And between them all, this quiet, this loneliness, this peace. It is not a cold void. It is a cradle holding all that is. You float here a while longer, not rushing, not needing to know what comes next. But in the corner of your mind, a question stirs. If galaxies are so far apart, what holds them together at all? What invisible threads connect the stars and keep the sky in motion? And you begin to sense it, a deeper presence, pulling silently beneath everything. You are no longer just drifting. You are beginning to feel gravity again. You drift again through open space, quiet and suspended, when something begins to stir on the horizon of thought. A slow, graceful motion, a dance so large, it moves on the scale of millions of years. Two galaxies are approaching one another. Not quickly, not violently, but with the stillness of a falling feather. Their paths shaped by gravity, drawn together not by speed, but by inevitability. From afar, it looks peaceful, like clouds merging in a windless sky. No crash, no shatter. Just flow. You are witnessing a cosmic collision, but not in the way you might expect. Stars do not slam into one another. They are too far apart for that. Even in the crowded spirals of galaxies, the stars are spaced like lanterns in a vast field, each one with miles and miles of silence between them. And so, when galaxies collide, their stars pass through one another like ghosts, unharmed, unaware. Their light continues to shine, unshaken. But the galaxies themselves, their shapes, their structures, their delicate balance, these are transformed. Their arms stretch and twist, drawn out like silken water. Tidal forces sculpt them into long, luminous streams. Some stars are flung into deep space, others are pulled inward, gathering at the core to ignite new bursts of creation. You float beside one such meeting, two galaxies mid-embrace, their spirals unraveling, their centers glowing more brightly as matter begins to fall. You're watching a ballet of billions, each star tracing its own slow arc, each orbit altered by the invisible pull of countless others. You think of time differently here. A single turn of this galactic dance may take 100 million years. From your perch, it seems frozen, and yet, if you listen, you can feel its rhythm. It's not chaos. It's choreography. Galactic collisions don't destroy. They remake. In their meeting, new stars are born. Clouds of gas, once resting quietly in the arms of their galaxy, are compressed, shocked into life by the tidal forces of the merge. The result is starburst, bright, intense, short-lived creation. A sudden firework of light in a space that has slept for eons. You can almost hear it, not a bang but a quiet hum of ignition, scattered across the sky. And while the stars shine on, the black holes at the centers of galaxies begin their own hidden duet. Most galaxies harbor these giants, supermassive black holes, millions or billions of times the mass of a star. Normally, they slumber, quietly turning at the heart of their home. But in collision, they awaken. As galaxies merge, so do their black holes, slowly spiraling toward one another over hundreds of millions of years. This, too, is a dance, silent and dark, but deeply powerful. Eventually, they will collide. Not in light, but in gravity, releasing a wave through space itself, a ripple of space-time that travels outward like a whisper heard across the universe. You are here for all of it. Not just a witness, but a passenger of thought, following gravity's call through the fabric of time. And you realize these collisions are not rare. They are the way of the cosmos. Even your own galaxy, the Milky Way, is on a slow path toward its neighbor, Andromeda. Right now, they glide toward one another at a pace you can't feel. But in 4 billion years, they will meet, merge, and become something new. Their stars will weave together into a new shape, perhaps an elliptical galaxy, round and quiet, its spiral arms dissolved by the motion. Even the Earth, long gone by, then will have once belonged to that great transformation dot. So in this slow dance of light and gravity, there is a promise. Change is coming, but it is not violent. It is not sudden dot, it is soft, it is grand. It is deeply, deeply patient. The universe does not hurry. It folds, unfolds, collides and remakes in its own timeless rhythm. You float, watching stars loop and bend, watching galaxies stretch and touch, watching creation emerge from contact. There is something strangely human in it, how closeness can change things, how what seems like chaos can leave behind beauty. You see a spiral arm, drawn long like a ribbon, trailing behind a galaxy that has lost its form but gained something more. A new center, a new shape, a new brightness. You exhale softly, carried by this realization. Dot in the sky, slow collisions. There is no end, only evolution. Only the long, graceful shift from what was into what will be. And as the galaxies begin to blend into one another, and the stars settle into their new orbits, you feel the dance fading into stillness. But in that stillness, a question stirs. If gravity shapes the path of stars and galaxies, what shapes gravity itself? You open your eyes to a softer kind of structure, not the harsh lines of architecture, but the gentle gathering of light drawn together by the invisible threads of gravity. You float now above a group of galaxies, a cluster. They drift near one another, not by accident, but by the long, slow pull of the universe's quiet architect, gravity. Galaxies, you've learned, are not isolated. They are not solitary lanterns lost in night. They gather in families, moving together through the wide dark like birds flying in the same direction. Without ever touching wings, you watch as 100, perhaps 1,000 galaxies all burn within a single gravitational field. They swirl and settle, orbiting a common center, their paths tangled like strands in a windless stream. You feel it, a kind of quiet companionship. Each galaxy unique, each carrying its own stars, its own black hole, its own clouds and quiet planets, and yet they belong to one another because they are held in place by the same unseen hand. This is a galaxy cluster, a community, a shared space of light. Dot, and as you look more closely, you notice something unexpected. Dot, between these galaxies, the space isn't entirely dark. It glows softly. A faint X-ray shimmer, hot gas, spread thin, but enough to bathe the cluster in an invisible warmth. This gas doesn't cling to stars. It floats freely, a reminder that what binds galaxies is not only gravity, but pressure, heat, and time. Dot, and then your view begins to widen. The cluster fades into a larger shape, one that takes longer to see, longer to understand. You begin to glimpse filaments, long bridges of galaxies, strung out like glowing beads on threads of dark matter. These are the paths that connect clusters to something greater. Supercluster. Imagine holding a handful of marbles, each marble a galaxy, cluster, and threads woven between them, pulling them into a soft network. These superclusters are the grand gatherings. Not only a few galaxies, but thousands upon thousands, linked over distances so large that even light, the swiftest traveler, needs hundreds of millions of years to cross from one end to the other. You drift through the Laniakea supercluster, your cosmic home. It means immense heaven in Hawaiian, and it lives up to its name. Within it, your own Milky Way is but a note in a sprawling cosmic symphony. It's one of many galaxies which sit inside the Virgo cluster, which itself is only one structure in this vast, quiet lattice. You are not at the center. There is no center, but you belong to this place, this neighborhood of light, drawn not by proximity, but by shared motion, a slow flow towards something deeper. Scientists call it a gravitational basin, a region where everything drifts inward toward a dense, unseen mass. The Great Attractor, they call it. And though its nature remains mysterious, its pull is undeniable. You feel it, even now, not as motion, but as a whisper, this way. There is something poetic about how galaxies, so far apart and so full of their own internal fires, still find one another and hold together, even across billions of years. Even when light fades and expansion pulls and collisions come and go, they remain connected. You wonder what it would look like to step even farther back, to see not just galaxies, not just clusters or superclusters, but the structure of everything dot. And when you imagine it, you see a web, delicate, intricate, woven with filaments and voids. This is the cosmic web, a structure so large it stretches across the visible universe. Galaxies don't fill space randomly. They follow this web, this scaffolding of dark matter and gravity, threading light into patterns. Even the emptiness, the voids between filaments, have meaning. They are not absence, but space where gravity once stepped lightly. You drift along one of these filaments, your body relaxed, your mind adrift in the scale of it all. You feel small, but in a comforting way, not forgotten, not meaningless, just part of something immeasurably wide. A cell in the body of a cosmic being that breathes across billions of years dot. And as your journey slows, you return to your own cluster, your own thread, your own galaxy. The stars are still there, waiting for you. But now you see them differently. Not as lonely lanterns, but as family. Connected, not by distance, but by the patient reach of gravity. You close your eyes and listen to the soft hum of the universe's deepest structures. And just as you begin to settle, a new thought rises, a quiet golden question. If all of this is held together by dark matter, what is it, really? And how can something so invisible leave behind such a vast, shining map? You lie still in space, cradled between galaxies, your body floating in a silence so wide it feels endless. And yet, something is moving. Not just stars, not just galaxies spinning or drifting, but space itself. You begin to notice it, not through sensation, but through understanding. The space between things is growing. The galaxies you've been watching, the clusters and threads you've come to know, they are not flying apart through motion. They are being carried on an expanding fabric that you don't feel wind. There is no tug, no pull on your arms. But the universe is breathing outward. Something deep, something hidden, is gently stretching the cosmos dot. This is dark energy. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. But it is everywhere. Dot, it is not gravity. Gravity pulls, clumps, collects. Dark energy does the opposite. It pushes. It smooths. It drives galaxies away from one another with a quiet persistence that grows stronger. With time, you imagine it like a tide beneath the surface of a still ocean. It moves the water, not with waves, but with expansion. The water stretches, and with it, all that floats within. You, too, are caught in this current. Not torn apart, but carried gently outward on a sea that never ends. For a long time, the universe slowed its growth. Gravity pulled back, trying to hold galaxies close, trying to keep everything together. But dark energy waited. It didn't rush. It watched, and as the universe grew larger, it grew stronger, Dot. And now, its influence is greater than gravity's. Not everywhere, not in galaxies, not in clusters, but in the vast spaces between. There, it reigns. You begin to feel how strange this is. That's something you can't detect with your skin, or your eyes, or your ears, can change the fate of everything. It's as if the universe has chosen to drift apart, not with violence, but with quiet inevitability. You think of two paper boats set afloat on a pond, slowly sliding away as the water between them grows. The boats don't move by choice. The space itself does the moving. This is not a force you can see, like the sun pulling on a planet. It's not even fully understood. We give it a name, dark energy, but we do not know its face. Is it a property of space itself? A constant energy woven into the cosmos? Or is it something else entirely? Something that changes with time, a breath that may one day shift. No one knows. And yet, you feel it. Not in your bones, but in the galaxies pulling away from you at every point of the sky. It's gentle. But it's everywhere. And it has a future. If it continues. If dark energy keeps expanding space faster and faster, then one day, galaxies will drift so far apart that they will vanish from one another's sight. Their light will stretch beyond reach. Their stars will fade into a darkness that grows quieter with every billion years. The night sky will change. Future astronomers, far down the river of time, may see only the stars in their own galaxy, unaware that others once burned beyond their sight. It is not a sad ending, just a quieter one. The universe doesn't end with a bang, but with distance. And still, within galaxies, life might go on. Stars will still be born. Planets may still turn. Light will still fall across quiet landscapes. Dark energy does not tear things apart directly. It does not unmake what is close. It only stretches what is far, softly, steadily, endlessly. And you are a witness to this unfolding. You drift in the middle of it, unharmed, still connected to the stars around you. You wonder, if this energy touches everything, if it fills every corner of space, does that mean it is part of you too? Part of your body, your breath, your cells? It might be. The same expansion that carries galaxies apart flows through the spaces between atoms, though its reach there is too gentle to feel. Still, it reminds you, even in silence, even in stillness, there are forces moving beneath everything. And perhaps this motion, this slow, invisible push, isn't something to fear, but something to marvel at. You float, eyes closed, letting yourself be carried by a current you cannot see. Not forward, not backward, but outward, like a thought that keeps unfolding, like a story that never truly ends. And as the darkness stretches wider, a new question begins to take shape in your mind. If dark energy fills everything, what then is the shape of everything? What is the shape of the universe itself? You are floating again, still and weightless, as if held gently in the palm of the universe. There is no wind, no noise, no edge to cling to, only silence and space. Stretching everywhere. You gaze into the dark, not empty, but vast, dotted with galaxies, like lanterns adrift on an infinite sea. Each one a swirl of stars, glowing from within. Each one slipping farther from you with a quiet grace that feels almost like memory. But something is different. Now, the farther you look, the faster they seem to flee. Galaxies on the distant horizon are not merely drifting, they are vanishing. Not suddenly, not rudely, but with a calm that carries sorrow, the kind that doesn't come from loss, but from knowing how much you'll never reach. It isn't that they're moving through space. That's the old way of thinking. The truth is stranger and more beautiful. Space itself is stretching. You picture it like dough rising beneath stars, like cloth being pulled between your fingers, not tearing, not wrinkling, just opening wider and wider, and wider still. The galaxies are beads sewn into that cloth. They don't move themselves. They ride the stretching fabric. And the farther a galaxy sits from you, the more fabric lies between, and the faster it moves away. It's called cosmic expansion. And it has no speed limit. You may remember the rule. Nothing travels faster than light. But here, the rule bends. Because space itself isn't a thing moving through another thing. It is the stage. It can stretch as quickly as it likes. And it does at great distances. Space expands so fast that galaxies appear to flee faster than light can chase them. You watch as the edge of the observable universe pulls away, not like a train on tracks, but like a shoreline receding. With a rising tide. No matter how fast you run, you cannot catch it. You cannot cross it. The light from those galaxies will never reach you. They have slipped beyond the cosmic horizon. That term sounds poetic, and it is, but it's also precise. The cosmic horizon is the distance beyond which light has no time to make its way. To you, no matter how long you wait. It's not a wall. It's not a barrier you could touch. It's more like the limit of knowing, the edge of your reach. And here's the mystery. That edge is always moving. As the universe expands, new light arrives from farther places. Yet, at the same time, space stretches so quickly that galaxies cross the horizon and vanish from view forever. It is a balance of revelation and farewell. You feel small again, but it's a kind of peaceful smallness, like being a child wrapped in a sky too big to name. It doesn't hurt. It humbles. You begin to understand that space is not quiet because it lacks motion, but because its motion is too large too. Gentle, too patient to shout. And even the speed of light, the fastest thing in existence, has limits when space moves the goalposts. You wonder what it must look like from one of those vanishing galaxies. Do they see you running away too? Do they look across the stars and see their own horizon shrinking in slow silence? Yes. In every direction, from every point, the universe expands. There is no center. No special place. Only perspective. Only drift. You close your eyes and imagine being light itself, a photon born in a distant galaxy, carrying the memory of a star. You travel straight, faithfully, year after year, but the space around you stretches. The road grows longer as you move. You try to reach us, but the finish line recedes. Eventually, the light cannot win. It falls behind, trapped in a space that flees faster than it can fly. This is the speed of space, not a sprint, but an ever-widening breath. And yet, you are still here, still able to see, still able to know. The universe may stretch, but it leaves behind echoes. Ancient light still arrives. Whispers of galaxies long gone still brush against your skin like messages carried in windless air. You are not cut off. Not yet. You lie still. You listen to the hum of motion. It's not sound, but a rhythm in the stars, in the way their light bends, in the way redshift stretches their stories. Every point in space feels the same expansion, and every person looking up wonders how far it goes. You wonder, too. And slowly, the question takes shape. If space can expand, can it also curve? Can the shape of the universe be something you could trace with your fingertips, something round, or flat, or infinite? You feel the question linger gently, just beneath your breath. You lie in the hush between galaxies, a stillness so vast it feels eternal. There's no sound, only space. No motion you can feel, but everywhere, light stretches, shifts, and disappears, far beyond what your eyes can see. Some galaxies are slipping away, not because they choose to, but because space itself carries them beyond your reach. This is not a metaphor. It is the gentle truth of distance, not the kind measured in footsteps, but in time, in light years, in the deep unfolding of the cosmos. Every second, the fabric of space expands beneath everything, like a quiet breath, drawn not into lungs, but into the void itself. And with that breath galaxies recede. Not slowly, but fast enough that their light will never catch up. These are the galaxies that disappear. Not into black holes, not into nothing, but beyond the cosmic horizon. That horizon isn't a wall. It's not something you could reach, even if you traveled forever. It's the limit of what you can ever know. Beyond it, light will never arrive. So when a galaxy crosses this invisible threshold, it's not destroyed. It simply becomes unknowable. It still spins. It still shines. Its stars still burn with the same fire. But you won't see them again. Not ever. And yet, you remember. You remember the light it once sent, back when it was close enough to reach you. That light may have traveled for billions of years, a quiet traveler through a stretching sea, and it reached your telescope just in time. Now, the galaxy is gone, but its light remains. The image, the impression, the story of what it once was. Like a dream you can't return to, but still feel. This is not tragic. It is the way of time when space itself has a rhythm. Imagine tossing a message in a bottle into a rising tide. The bottle floats, but the shore drifts faster. Soon, no message can reach. Galaxies don't vanish all at once. Their departure is quiet. At first, their light arrives more slowly. Then, it redshifts, stretches into longer, redder wavelengths, until it fades beyond what your eyes can see. And then, silence. Not because the galaxy stopped glowing, but because the universe grew too wide, too fast. Still, you wonder, what becomes of them in that silence? Do they continue their journeys? Do they form new stars or fall into stillness? Perhaps they dance with other galaxies, merge, collide, create new shapes. Perhaps they watch their own neighbors disappear across horizons they, too, can't cross. You close your eyes and imagine them, island universes, adrift in growing emptiness, carried outward by a force too soft to feel but too steady to stop. The universe is not empty. It's just wide, so wide that most of it is forever out of reach. And yet, you are part of it. You are here, in a moment where many galaxies still shine within view, where their ancient light still brushes your world. This is a gift, a brief window of cosmic vision, a chapter in time when the sky is full. You don't know how long this chapter will last. Eventually, more galaxies will vanish. Their light will fall silent. The night sky will grow quieter, but not yet. Not tonight. Tonight, the universe still speaks. Not in words, but in the glow of countless stars scattered across an ever-expanding page. Even as some galaxies slip away, others still tell their stories. You listen with the quiet attention of someone who knows that all light is precious. And even as it fades, you hold it close, because somewhere, far beyond the horizon, a galaxy you once saw still turns. Still breathes, still shines that you cannot follow it. But you can remember, and you can ask, if galaxies can vanish across the sky, what will remain when only silence surrounds you? You lie quietly beneath a sky still full of stars, pinpoints of ancient light shimmer above you, galaxies glowing like scattered coals on a dark ocean. There is comfort in their presence, a reminder that even in the vastness, you are not alone. But time, in the language of the cosmos, is a patient sculptor. And this night sky, bright, alive, and shared, is only a chapter, a luminous blink. In the life of the universe, you breathe slowly, and the galaxies seem to breathe with you. Their light, after all, takes time to arrive. Some of it has traveled for billions of years to fall gently upon your skin tonight. Yet even as you feel this closeness, something quiet is pulling them away. Not with force, not with urgency, but with the steady exhale of space itself. Galaxies are drifting, not through the universe, but with it. Carried by the stretching fabric of space, like dandelion seeds in a silent wind. This expansion, this soft breath of the cosmos, continues endlessly, patiently, drifting galaxies farther from each other with every passing second. You imagine the far future, not in centuries or millennia, but in epochs, in eons, a time when Earth may still turn, but the sky above will have changed. In this distant tomorrow, the galaxies we see now, Andromeda, the Whirlpool, the Sombrero, will be gone from view, not destroyed, not extinguished, but simply too far, their light stretched thin by expansion, lost beyond the horizon of perception. The night will look different then, not because the stars have disappeared, but because light itself will no longer be able to reach us. The universe, ever growing, becomes more solitary, a darkening garden where each flower fades not from wilting, but from retreat. But here is the gentle truth. We are in the golden hour of sight, a time when the cosmos still shares its stories, a time when light from distant galaxies still flows into our eyes and instruments, offering its secrets in soft, glowing whispers. You are lucky to exist now, when the sky still speaks. You turn inward. You wonder what it would feel like to gaze into that future sky and see nothing but darkness. No spirals, no clusters, no faint smudges of light hinting at worlds far beyond. Would it feel lonely? Or would it feel like mystery reborn, a clean canvas for new questions, new searches, new wonder? The galaxies themselves will still exist. They will carry on, forming stars, shaping planets, nurturing possibilities you and I cannot imagine. But their glow will no longer reach across space to touch this world. It's like being in a vast hall, full of people whose voices once filled the air. And now, the voices have faded. Not because they're gone, but because the room has grown too large to carry sound. You walk through that quiet hall, holding memories instead of music. And perhaps that's enough, because everything we know about the universe has come from light. From these fleeting messengers that cross space and time to find us. Even after those lights go silent, their messages will remain. In books, in minds, in your own heart. If you let them settle there, you don't lose the galaxies. You simply stop seeing them, but they're still part of the story. Still threads in the great cosmic tapestry. And maybe, just maybe, there will be new kinds of sight. New ways of feeling the universe that don't rely on light alone. Maybe the silence of that future will be filled with other kinds of knowing. Maybe. What fades from view grows brighter in imagination. You take a breath. The stars above are still here, and their light is still reaching you. A gift from long ago, arriving just in time before the sky begins to dim. Even now, telescopes strain to glimpse the faintest galaxies, the oldest signals. We gather their whispers, turn them into colors and maps and meaning. But someday, those whispers will be too soft. The instruments will listen and hear only the hush of darkness. That moment will not come suddenly. It will arrive like dusk, slowly, softly, until the horizon fades and you can no longer tell where the edge once was. And yet, you remember. You remember what once filled the sky. You remember the way galaxies arched across the dark like silver smoke. How their light curled through the silence. That memory becomes its own kind of presence. And as the universe grows quiet, your wonder does not shrink. It expands. It fills the silence like breath fills a sleeping chest. You are not grieving the galaxies. You are honoring them by noticing them now, by holding them close before they drift too far to follow. So tonight, while the sky still speaks, you listen, and you let the light settle gently into your eyes. You wonder, what stories will we carry forward when the stars begin to fade? And what new questions will rise in the darkness they leave behind? You float in the quiet of the present, surrounded by the light of ancient stars. The sky above seems eternal, but you know now it's not still. It drifts. It breathes. It becomes. And you drift with it, not beside it. Not beneath it. Within it, you are part of this unfolding, woven from the same threads that stretch across galaxies. Not merely an observer, but a participant in the grand drift of time and space. Your breath is not separate from the stars. It carries atoms that once burned in suns, that once swirled in glowing clouds before even Earth existed. There is hydrogen in your blood that was born in the Big Bang. The same moment that sent galaxies outward like pollen. You are a child of expansion. A being shaped by the quiet, ancient rhythm that continues to unfold beneath your very feet. This knowledge is not meant to make you small. It is meant to make you still. Still in the way a mountain is still, rooted in ancient motion. Still, in the way space itself expands, not fast, not loud, but endlessly. In this calm, you begin to see your place. You are not the center, but you are not lost. You are somewhere in between, a witness, a question, a momentary breath of curiosity in the lungs of the universe. Look again at the stars. Not with your eyes, but with your memory. Each one is not just a point of light. It is a reminder of what you're made of where you came from. Carbon in your bones, iron in your blood, oxygen in your lungs. All forged in stars, all scattered by ancient explosions, all gathered by time into the body you now carry. You don't need to understand everything. You only need to feel the connection, that long, slow thread between the galaxies drifting apart and the quiet movement of your own thoughts. Because even now, as the universe grows colder and wider, your mind burns with questions. And that fire, that need to understand, is also part of the drift. You are what the universe does when it wants to reflect on itself. You are its pause, its moment of self-awareness, its brief ability to ask, what is all this for? Maybe there is no answer. Maybe the asking is enough. Because in the asking, you create meaning. You create warmth in a cooling universe. You are a kind of gravity, a pull toward story, toward memory, toward connection. Even as galaxies grow farther apart, you gather ideas like stars, pulling them into patterns, into constellations of thought. And that too is a kind of creation. You do not build stars, but you build meaning from their light. You do not stop expansion, but you trace it with wonder, and in doing so, you become part of the story. So when the future sky grows dim, when the galaxies vanish from view, you remain. Even if the stars forget your name, you will have known them, even if no one sees. The spiral arms of distant galaxies, you will have carried their light in your heart. You are the place where knowledge briefly glows. You are the thread between the past and a future you cannot yet see. There will be more questions. Always what will happen when the last star dies? Will there be another beginning? Does the universe breathe out forever, or will it someday return inward, collapsing into silence? You don't know, but you ask. And that asking is a spark, a soft defiance against forgetting, a flame held up against the dark. You are not here to hold the universe still. You are here to drift with it, to listen to its rhythm, to marvel at its vastness while feeling your own small pulse within it. You may never travel beyond your galaxy, but your thoughts do. They fly with photons, race with particles, linger in starlight, and even when your body returns to dust, the atoms will remain. Perhaps they'll rise in the breath of a tree, or fall into ocean waves, or drift upward toward the stars once more. Are part of the drift, not separate, not forgotten. Part of the stars, part of the silence, part of the question, part of the slow, soft tide that carries everything forward. So lie back now. Feel the motion beneath you, the expansion that gently lifts galaxies and cradles your body too. The sky may darken someday. The stars may grow quiet, but your place in the drift remains dot, and somewhere in that stillness, a new question begins to form, soft as starlight, quiet as gravity. What remains when even the stars are gone? The stars may fade. The galaxies may drift beyond your gaze. But the ocean never ends. You lie there, weightless in the dark, your thoughts floating like tiny boats on the vastness of space. Nothing breaks the silence, and yet it feels full of memory, full of motion, full of something that cannot be named, only felt. You think of all that has come before, the first flicker of light, the ripples in the early fabric of space, the stars spinning into galaxies, and the galaxies stretching apart each moment like a wave, rising and falling in the tide of time. And you are one of those waves. Small, perhaps, brief, but real dot in the great cosmic ocean. There are no final shores, only deeper waters, only new currents pulling you gently forward. You imagine a time when even starlight will end, when the galaxies fall silent, when the last ember cools. Time of quiet, deeper than any night, but not empty, not lost, because even in that silence, the ocean remembers. Particles still drift. Gravity still hums. Time still moves, even if no one is there to watch it. This is the great truth the universe offers you, that even as things end, they continue. Changed, yes, but never truly gone, just as a wave sinks back into the sea and is never the same again, but never stops being water dot. So too, the stars that fade become the atoms of future forms. So too, the light that vanishes makes way for new kinds of knowing. You don't know what comes next. No wonders dot will the universe collapse inward, folding back upon itself like a tide returning to shore? Or will it stretch forever, growing colder, quieter, more spacious with each passing age? No theory is certain, no answer complete. But maybe that's the beauty. The not knowing, the wondering, because wondering is how you remain part of it. It is how you ride the drift, even when the stars go out. You turn your mind toward the deep future, not in fear, but in curiosity. You wonder if thought itself will find a way to echo, if minds or their descendants will carry forward the story. Maybe they'll float in machines, maybe in light itself, maybe not at all dot, but if they do, if consciousness finds a way to ride out the long night, then the ocean will not be silent dot, it will whisper still, through minds made of stardust, through memories that span epochs. Even if all that remains is the hum of gravity and the whisper of expansion, that will be enough, because something will still be moving, still unfolding, still becoming dot, and in that becoming, your place is held, not as a ruler, not as a master, but as a listener, a dreamer, a ripple that once passed through the dark and noticed the stars. You realize, here in this quiet moment, that the edge of the universe is not a wall. It is not a boundary dot, it is an idea, always moving outward, always just beyond reach. Like the horizon on a calm sea, it follows you, but you never touch it dot, and perhaps that's the lesson, that the end is not an end. It is a soft transition, a deepening of the journey, a quiet door opening onto mystery. You listen for it, not with your ears, but with your heart dot. It sounds like breath, like silence, like the hush between waves dot, and in that hush you feel peace, because the ocean of the cosmos is not something you float above. It's something you are inside of, something that has always held you from the moment your atoms formed to this moment of stillness. You do not fall into the void. You drift, carried by the same forces that lifted galaxies into being. Even when you sleep, even when you forget, even when no one is left to remember, the ocean never ends. And so, Tonight, you let your thoughts grow quiet. You let them sink into the soft waters of space and time, not to disappear, but to become part of something vaster, something gentle, something eternal. You are not apart from it. You are not lost. You are held. You are part of the tide. You are one with the ocean. And as the last light dims, and the stars move beyond sight, you drift in peace, because even in darkness, there is motion, there is rhythm, there is wonder. And the ocean, the true, endless ocean, goes on. Soft, silent, infinite, alive.